Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and I am standing outside the strip mall that I bought a couple of years ago, and we just completed the cash out refinance where we took about $1.5 million out of this property. So we're going to talk about that process, what we had to go through, why it was crazy, and how we were able to do that in this video. Here we can see the grocery store, which is the main part of the strip mall. It has over 50,000 square feet. And then we have the restaurant, the coffee shop, and the dance studio in my office behind the restaurant. Of course, it's a little noisy because we are on a busy 4-lane road, which of course is very good if you have commercial properties. And ironically, even though this grocery store has not been advertised for lease or for rent, we've had 2 different potential tenants ask us about renting this space, another grocery store and a gym. So it must be a pretty popular location, which is great for us. You can see we did finally get our signs up there too. We talked to a sign company who wanted to charge us, I think, $1,400 for each side to put up a sign. But then we found a local company who made vinyl signs for us, and we had our guy put them up there for about $300 on each side. So that worked out much better. We bought this for $2.1 million. Had it appraised for $3.95 million, which was quite the process, and we'll talk about that. We also had to do phase 1 and phase 2 environmental reports, which was quite the process as well. And then we've done some work on the property too. So now obviously the exciting part is doing our cash out, which netted us almost $1.5 million, and it still cash flows after all of that. So this was quite the deal, quite the property. And I wish I could find 10 more like them, but these are tough ones to do. It's tough to find a property that has a lot of value add potential and has current tenants as well, because some of my other commercial properties that I've bought and purchased, they were also really good deals, but they're vacant. And so it takes a much longer time to rent vacant properties than it does, or commercial properties than it does residential properties. You can see here some of the work we did. El Cielo restaurant, Tori, great guy, owner of the restaurant. We just recently stuccoed and painted their building, but it was yellow wood, getting pretty rough. That was already stuck over there. Our office was already stucco as well, but we painted the stucco, cleaned things up, made it look a lot better. And then some of the phase 2 and phase 1 environmental work was done out here, where they drilled into the ground in order to take samples of the water and to see if there were gas tanks here, because one of the big holdups was the gas tank situation, which we'll talk about as well on this property. And then if we keep going this way, you can see some of the dance studio people. Our office is over here, and getting those 2 leases signed was really a huge amount of adding value, and then just getting a good deal as well. So one of the big holdups on our refinance was the second bank we were working with wanted an environmental report done to make sure there are no major issues. So with the environmental report, an inspector comes out, checks the entire property, makes sure there's no mold, hazardous materials, and they do research on the property to see if there's anything strange in the past, like a gas station. And we did not realize it, but there used to be a gas station right here where the Human Bean is. Long time ago, this used to be a Gibson's discount store. And when it was a Gibson's discount store in the 60s, 70s, and possibly some of the 80s, they had some gas pumps right out here. And I actually have a picture of those gas pumps in an old picture I have of the property. I didn't realize those pumps were there, but after looking at it closer, I can see them. And we did not know if those gas tanks were taken out or not. So we found out that there's a permit pulled to take them out in 1992, but the permit was never closed out. So I tried contacting the old property management company, the old owners. No one could get back to me. No one knew anything. So we had to do a phase 2 report where they come out with sonar, check for tanks, and take samples of the soil as well. So they found out the tanks were gone. That's great news. But on one of the holes they drilled, which was right over here somewhere, they had some blue markings and spray paint, but it's all washed away now. It showed groundwater at 30 feet, and it had some chemical in it that was above EPA guidelines. So I'm like, oh my God. So we still couldn't get everything passed through with the loan. We had to do another second part of the phase 2. And then they came in and drilled like 5 or 6 more holes, 40 feet deep, all around this corner to see if water was coming in, if it was groundwater that was contaminated. And what they found was there's only water in that one little spot. Everywhere else was dry. And because of that, they said, we're okay, we're good to go. The EPA would pass what they found. So ironically, if they had drilled a hole maybe 10 feet to the left of there, they probably wouldn't have found water, wouldn't have found any chemicals, and it would have saved us like $9 grand and weeks of time. But as it is, we had to do that phase 2 second part, and luckily that came back clear. And after that, we finally got the clear to close. And here you can see our office, which was stuccoed before, as I said, but we painted the stucco as kind of an ugly beige before. This was the same color. We painted the dance studio. When we first bought this place, it had most recently been a thrift store right there, but had gone out of business. And this had been a software company that had gone out of business, and that was a labor company, a PeopleReady, that was still working, but they left recently, and the dance studio took over their space. And then we also put in the deck, the covered patio right there to make it look a lot nicer out here. Just made a tremendous improvement overall of what it looks like, so that was nice. And overall, I think we spent about $100,000 on fixing up the outside, remodeling the dance studio outside and inside for them, and then doing kind of the fence, a few other things that we put up around here. And then like a sucker, for my office, I paid for most of the work on the inside myself, realizing now, after being in this, I should have made the building pay for it, but that's okay. I'll get over that part of it. And here you can see what our office looks like right now. And back there is where I do some of my videos, which we'll do some of here soon. And I just want to show this one picture right here. If you can see it, that is the old Gibsons. This picture's from like 73. So that's all houses and stuff all the way that direction. But right there, those are the gas pumps I was talking about. And that corner right there is right where the coffee shop, the Human Bean, is. And then that's our building right here. And our office is back right in that corner right there to give you some perspective on where we're at. All right, it's really cool getting this refinance done and putting it all together and seeing it finally get to the finish line, but it took forever. So why did it take so long? Let's look at that. First off, we talked to a banker. This is the banker who first financed this property. I sat down, I had lunch with him. I said, hey, we want to do this cash out refinance. Do you think it'd be okay? Can we do 75% loan to value? He said, thumbs up, no problem. You're good, you've got it. And this was September of 19, somewhere in there. So we ordered the appraisal. We had a choice of paying like $4,500 to get it done in 8 weeks or $8,000 to get it done in like 3 weeks. We decided to go with the longer period because we weren't in a super hurry, save us a few $1,000s. So we finally got the appraisal back, and it literally took 8 weeks, maybe a little longer. And the value was low, which we'll talk about here. So then I had to fight the appraiser. This took 3 months to do this. Like I said, this took 2 months, something like that. Finally got the appraisal done right, finally got the value fixed, and then we go back to our bank and say, we're good to go. And they say, oh, wait, we changed our mind. We're not gonna do a cash out refinance anymore. We'll do a refinance at cost, which means what we bought the building for, plus any costs we spent, like the $100,000 we spent fixing it up. So, like, no, that's not what we want. That's not all what you said you would do. And so, had to go find a new bank. That took a couple months of talking to people all across the country, locally, till we finally found a new bank, got it done, got the original terms that we wanted. So then we got that done, and the new bank's like, hey, we want an environmental report done. Like, okay, should be fine. Turns out it wasn't fine. We had to do the phase 1 environmental report. Then we had to do the phase 2 environmental report. Then we had to do an additional phase 2 environmental report with more testing. So that took something like another 3 months. And then we finally had that done. And then we had to get everything together. We finally got the refinance approved, closed, all done like a year after we started. And that's why it took us so long, because all of these different things that had to come together and work perfectly, or not so perfectly as it turned out. All right, one of the trickier things with this deal was the appraisal. Now, we had to spend like $4,500 on this appraisal. It took them 8 weeks to complete it. And when it came back, it came in really low. Came in at like 3.4 million, which, I mean, we bought the property for 2.1 million, so it's not super low. But I knew this property is worth at least 4 million, probably more than that. But you always kind of expect appraisals to come in low. But this one was really low for what I wanted. And what I did was first I reviewed the appraisal to see how they came up with their value. And how does the appraiser come up with his value? Well, they look at net income. It's a commercial property, so they want to see what the property makes after all expenses. And that's your net income. And usually you use a cap rate to figure that out. And that gives you one value. Replacement costs. How much does it take to rebuild this property if it burned down, to build it from scratch? That's another value. And then market comps. What are other properties like this property selling for? And what cap rate is it selling for? What do those properties look like? And what happens is the appraiser takes all of these together and kind of comes up with a percentage of how valuable each of these are and averages the cost together. So he had a value here, a value here, a value here, takes a percentage of what he thinks each contributes to the value and came up with this number. So the number one contributor with commercial real estate is the net income. That's what really matters. Even if you have a property that takes 3 times what it was bought for is worth to replace, you know, it still might not be worth that because of market factors. Market comps are important too, but tougher because there aren't exactly a lot of 68,000 square foot strip malls selling in the area. So it's a little tougher to compare those. So he took his income and I evaluated his report over and over, tried to figure out what was wrong with it. I have another video that goes over this as well in detail. And in the end, he was counting our loan payments. Oh, my marker's running out. For our mortgage as an expense against the property. You should never do that. That's appraising 101. The loan is separate from the value of the property because you could have a 100% loan or a 10% loan or a 200% loan or no loan. And the property is still going to be worth the same no matter what kind of loan you have. But he was letting the loan take away from the net income. So we pointed out that major mistake. And after he realized it and mumbled and grumbled a little bit, we got the appraisal raised to 3.95 million, which I still think is low, but I'll take it. One of his big market comps was a Sears store here that was torn down right after it sold. So I think our building's worth a little more than a building that was torn down because it was in such bad shape. All right, so we completed the refinance. We went through all these ups and downs, hiccups, finally got it done. For a while there, I didn't know if we were going to get it done. Why? Why go through all that? I mean, with our appraisal, it was like $4,500. The phase 1 was $5,000. The phase 2 was $7,500, I think. The additional phase 2 was another $8,000. There was title insurance, it was $3,000. There was lawyers' fees, it was $6,000. Other origination fee, which was $7,000. In the end, it took, I didn't even add all this up, 16, 24, 32, almost $50,000 in fees to complete this appraisal. So why would we spend that much money to do this appraisal? Here's why. Now I have a partner in this deal, so I don't get all this money, but I get a lot of it, which is good. So our rate went down a little bit. We have a 3.99% interest rate, which is great. Our new payments are like $15,000 a month, and we still bring in $27,000 a month in income. So all these are triple net leases, so there might be a few extra costs, but for the most part, the tenants, like me, pay for all the expenses. So we still make like $10,000 a month, even after the refinance. And now we have hundreds of thousands of dollars we can work with to do more deals. That's it, right? This property made us so much money and still makes us money every month. And we literally now have negative money invested into it. Now we can take that money, go do other deals, try and find similar commercial properties and just keep doing it over and over and over again. So that is why we did the refinance. Even though it costs us quite a bit in fees, it gives us so much more capital to do more deals, keep doing these over and over again. Okay, that is all. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you stuck to the end. We appreciate all the thumbs up, comments, new subscribers, so keep that coming. And we'll have many more videos on this property as we move along, and our other flips, rentals, all of that good stuff. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned, and we will be back with more soon.